happy as I can be. Whoa, boom, boom, and zippity zoom. Love is sweet, love is grand, works one.
We're in the middle of dry week
Yes.
here, and as a community, we're just taking a week off of drinking, but we want to come out of dry week with a vengeance.
With a knowledgeable, prepared, and armed to the effing teeth vengeance.
Right, so nerd vengeance.
Nerd vengeance. Revenge of the whiskey nerds.
So we're gonna talk about how to read a whiskey label like a boss, or a professional, or an expert, or a sommelier, whatever the hell you. But basically, how to know your way around a whiskey bottle. You having some problems
that
there?
tea was too hot.
The tea, you can't handle the tea?
I gulped it and it was too hot.
Are you so far off the heels of a whiskey you now can't handle tea?
Yeah, it's fighting with me.
First things first, when it comes to whiskey bottle terminology, we're not going to get into a lot of words and phrases you see on bottles that actually have no legally binding definition.
There's already a video about that. Things like handcrafted and small batch.
Yeah, the video's up here. It's whiskey bottle terminology, bullshit or legit. It goes all through that. But we are, in this video, going to go through the handful of things that have to be on a whiskey bottle and how to make sure that you can read those and actually know what's going on.
Now this is primarily, by the way, we're talking about UK and America, England, UK, Ireland.
Japanese whiskey, Indian whiskey, they have their whole other set of... This is like Western whiskeys, right?
But there's 4 main things.
So proof,
That's easy.
super easy.
It legally has to be on the bottle.
Yep.
And proof and percentage of alcohol both have to be on there, even though it's talking about the same thing and one is just double the other.
If it's 80 proof, it's 40% alcohol.
Yes.
I'm already learning.
Nailed it.
Already learning.
See right there, basically hitting, there it is, 40%, 80 proof.
Now, with the proof, when a distillery is putting stuff in the bottle, is there room for them to stretch this out and fudge it?
Yeah, there's a variance, a fair variance of like a 10th% in either direction. It's slightly different than that, but it's that close. I mean, it's gotta be right on the money.
There's people checking and double checking and doing...
And TTB can actually open up a bottle and test it, and if they find it's different, they can come after you and fine you for it. Now, if
Yeah.
this is super nerdy. Are you ready?
Yeah.
If you have a legally, a piece of equipment that is authorized by TTB to test proof,
Sure.
and you can show a record that you tested the proof of that batch before it left and it showed correctly, you are off the hook.
Oh. So you just need to fudge the books in the distillery and you're fine.
You can't. You just need to fake chemical equipment. Okay, the second thing.
Hey, TTB.
Yeah. Thanks, Rex. Yeah. The second thing that you need to do.
Is this age statement?
This is an age statement, which is not necessarily on every whiskey, but if it is, no matter what country you're in the West, if you have an age statement, that is the date of the youngest barrel.
Right.
That was aging that. That's Scotland, Ireland, all of them, right?
So,
America.
So you have a 12-year-old Scotch.
Then the youngest barrel was 12 years old. Like, for example, in a 14-year-old Oban, there is the youngest barrel is 14 years old, but there could be a 20-year-old barrel or a 25-year-old barrel in that mix if they were using that to create flavor profiles. Right? Imagine you have a whiskey that's, for as long as you've ever known it, 12. Elijah Craig 12. And then one day it gets released, re-released. Same everything, but it says Elijah Craig small batch now.
And no age
no age statement.
No age statement. They're called NAS whiskeys.
That's when people start freaking out, saying, oh, are you just using this as a shortcut to release younger whiskey that doesn't taste like what we love?
Not having an age statement, yes, does allow distillers to play fast and loose with what they're putting into the bottle there. But at the same time, that is often taking off the handcuffs that distilleries have given themselves to make sure they can be able to put a number on there. There's been some amazing whiskeys with no age statement that are coming out just because the distiller has the flexibility to get creative with what's going into that bottle.
And say you have a blend that has a 3-year-old whiskey mixed with a 28-year-old whiskey.
Right.
Well, legally, if you put an age statement, you have to say 3-year-old whiskey. But it's not really.
Lefroy Glore is an amazing whiskey that never could have existed if it was chasing an age statement. A lot of the Ardbegs are that way.
Now notice this does not have a number. Because it's over 4 years old, it no longer requires an age statement.
Okay.
So straight whiskey has to be at least 2.
Yeah.
And so if it says straight,
Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
then it's at least 2.
Right.
If it also doesn't have an age statement, it's at least 4.
So this applies to bourbon.
This applies to American whiskey.
American, so bourbon,
straight rye, straight bourbon, straight corn whiskey.
Right.
So this could, be 6, it could be 10, it could be 15 years old, it could be a mix of them, but it's at least 4.
We absolutely advocate that distilleries are just transparent about what's going in the bottle. If you can't put it on the bottle, then put it on a freaking website somewhere so people who care can learn about that stuff and figure out what exactly is going on. Our main priority is, if you really like it, screw the age statement that's on the bottle there. If it's good, it's good.
The best whiskey is the whiskey you like to drink.
And the way you like to drink it.
That's right.
What's the third?
Third thing is, what is the spirit?
That comes down to, is it mash bill and origin?
Mash bill and country of origin.
Okay, so when it comes to being able to be categorized as a Scotch or a bourbon or a corn whiskey.
Let's talk Scotland first.
Yeah.
Okay, look, we've got a blend here, but it's called blended malt Scotch. That means we now know it's Scotland,
right?
But it's also only malt whiskey.
Okay.
If it had grain spirit in it, it would be called blended Scotch whiskey.
So quickly,
right there.
Malt whiskey is basically whiskey made entirely from barley. We also did a single malt whiskey video. We'll link up here. It's all about single malt.
Right. So notice Redbreast single pot still.
Yeah.
Right. That's a style of Irish whiskey, pot stilled Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
Right. Now you're not going to see that on Irish whiskeys that are using grain mix. Like, what does this one, Tullamore, do? Just Irish whiskey.
Triple distilled.
So it's going to be a mix of malt and grain. Now, America, it gets more complicated. Bourbon, rye, and malt and corn have specific requirements on aging, percentage of the mash bill that they are, and so on, and lack of finishing options.
Yeah.
As soon as you start finishing something,
you can't. For example, if you're going to finish a bourbon in like a stout barrel, which is one of the things that we're doing, if you're going to finish it in a wine barrel, which is another thing that we're doing, even though it's a bourbon going into what used to be a stout beer or wine barrel, you can't call it a bourbon anymore. We did a cut. Daniel's been hunting for a bottle that's not illegal for like several minutes.
Because TTV is so understaffed, it really takes a consumer to call or throw down a flag on a distillery who's lying to you and start a lawsuit, or like Templeton. Sue the distillery. Force people to look at what's actually on the bottle.
Which leads us into the single biggest ongoing chronic fight, a point of contention, especially
primarily in America, but from both producers and consumers.
That is on the bottle, being clear and transparent about where did that whiskey come from.
Now legally, if you make a spirit, it can say distilled by or distilled whatever and bottled by. That's what you're looking for, distilled by and bottled by. Now, technically, I actually know of a couple distilleries that are saying produced by, even though they're making it all, which is a horrible idea because
anybody can say produced. You have to actually make the stuff if you're going to say distilled. Now, we don't have anything wrong with sourcing, but consumers and other distillers, what there's a huge fight about is just being clear. It's a total lack of clarity.
Legally, if you source a spirit from out of state, you have to put where the state it was distilled. Have to. Right there on the bottom.
It says distilled and bottled by Kentucky Springs Distilling Company, Claremont, Frankfort, Kentucky, USA.
What does this one say, Rex?
Where am I looking?
Look, I don't know. Look around the bottle. See if you can figure out who made it.
Finished and bottled in Tarnished Truth Distilling Company, Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Finished and bottled. So there's no distilled statement on there.
Okay.
If they are sourcing this spirit from outside of Virginia, that's now an illegal label. Here's an example of a Texan one that says right here, bottled by, and then there should be a distilled, because this is MGP and we know it is, distilled in Indiana. Guess where it is? It's on here. It's up here. In print so small, even where Rex is standing, it's hard to read.
Holy shit, it looks like a barcode.
Yeah. And guess what happens when you open the cork on this? Guess what tears? And here's a whole other level of kind of fun label, real quick.
You qualified it.
This is a bonus.
Okay.
This is a independent bottling from Scotland, signatory.
Yeah.
On this bottle, you can see where it was distilled.
Yeah.
You can see who bought it, what region it came from, what vintage. That's the year it was distilled.
Yeah, yeah.
You can see the bottle, the batch, the cask, what it was matured in, how old it is, and when they bottled it. Everything.
So the reason why that's really helpful is even if you're not going to super nerd out on a label, whenever you're trying to find whiskeys that you gravitate towards and you really like.
Yes, that's exactly why you want to know these things.
Yes.
Imagine if you had fallen in love with what the Texas heat does to a whiskey.
Right.
All that rich oak spice.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, I found my wheelhouse. And then you go somewhere and there's a giant Texas star and the name Texas all over everything on this whiskey, and it turns out it's sourced from 2 other states and blended with vodka.
Right.
That's why it's a problem, because you cannot consistently get what you love.
Daniel, I need to shake out the nerdiness, man.
Okay, how?
I want to go visit our own labels to see how illegal we are.
Yeah, we already are.
Are we?
Yeah.
Dude! What the hell? Very special day. Maximum special. Once every 10 million years, a day comes along like today. Except the years where there's a few times. Today is bottling day. We take delicious whiskeys from a barrel and put delicious whiskeys into bottles. The first step is to make sure the bottles are nice and clean. That does really fancy stuff like this. Deb, with this special thing.
Bottle filler.
Bottle filler! Oh, look. So after it gets filled here, then it gets one of these very unique hand-carved, not at all hand-carved corks. This is chapter what, Deb?
Chapter 6.
Chapter 6, new whiskey. Hey, it's not falling.
Not falling yet.
So Daniel, quickly, we mentioned our labels are super illegal.
So, not really. They are.
Maximum illegal.
It's not bad. When we got our labels approved,
right,
we thought our whiskey was going to be under 2 years old. By the time the distillery got done, our whiskey was 3 years old. So our original labels say bourbon whiskey.
Right.
Right? Technically, it's a straight bourbon whiskey. And technically, if it's a straight bourbon, it has to say straight bourbon whiskey.
Straight means it's at least 2 years old.
That's right.
So we didn't give ourselves credit for the 2 years old, but it's not like we had the option.
Yeah, we should have done it.
So
the new one says straight bourbon whiskey.
all the Patreon money is now going towards TTB fines.
There's no fine. As a matter of fact, they should pay us money for catching our mistake instead of them.
Right, we're volunteer.
I'm just saying.
You're volunteer agents. So we have new labels.
Yes,
Hopefully,
most of them.
Hopefully not illegal.
Yeah, we're about to find out.
And a new bottle shape.
And a new bottle shape. New stickers.
If you hear noises, they're moving a small building over next to our warehouse so we can use it for more whiskey things.
All right. Okay, so this is the side one. Do you want it to be reading it down like that?
Pull it with the right hand, and then they're gonna flip it around like that. I think is the easiest way.
Closer to the top, centered, or closer to the
I
bottom?
think centered, unless there's gonna be something else on that. Oh, it's not wider than the bottle. Yeah,
perfect.
it's just right. So we're just doing the front label now.
Yeah, and the back one has the story, the new chapter.
Yeah.
And it also has, on the side facing into the whiskey, a picture of Eleanor.
Oh.
Ah.
The reveal.
That's getting here Monday. So I think right there is as low as it can go and stay mostly on the front. Oh, it's even with the bottom of this.
Yeah, there's gonna be an image back here that will show at a later video.
Do we want it up towards the top to leave room to see through?
Yeah.
Bam.
Cool.
The new bottle, everybody.
I dig. And then you can turn it over that way.
Yeah.
Do that, and then there's gonna be something see-through. Let's see Emma through the bottle. The moment of truth. Does it say straight bourbon?
Oh yeah, I forgot to look at that and all the. It does.
All right.
Oh, thank God.
Where we going? So in the middle of dry week here, what has been your vice of choice?
My vice of choice has been tea. Handsome Brute.
Ooh.
It's hefty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those got some big dark fruits in there.
Yeah. You want to put the water in first,
Okay.
then you fill the tea thing with it and set it in.
Daniel.
Yeah.
You are very learned and experienced in the ways of whiskey, but in tea,
I'm learning.
I'm not so sure.
I mean, I can make a standard pot of English tea, but
I have lesson number 1 for you.
Okay.
That will just set you on a path to all types of tea-based glory. It's dry week in the whiskey tribe. Teresa Smith posted this.
what are your...
If you can
That's gonna be tough.
If you can get the tea into a cup halfway, if it's more than halfway, I think that's the level for ultimate glory.
This is gonna be really hot. And it carries the heat. It really is. We need to let this cool down first.
No, you just need to. Well, you get a paper towel.
Yeah.
And then this part.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You go.
So gross. Ah!
Then you blow right through here. You don't get burned.
No. Oh, it's so gross.
You can use mine.
No.
Wait, now, and then we gotta get it in a cup.
You gotta get it in a cup. All right, now you place the cup.
Oh man.
Where do you think it's gonna? No.
No dribbling.
At least the length of the cup.
You moved it. I got some. Oh. All right, this is my run.
Okay.
Ready?
All right.
Yeah. We bop and hippity hop and as happy as I can be. Oh, boom, boom, and hippity zoom. Love is sweet, love is grand, works one. Oh, we bop and hippity hop. I'll never be a millionaire. Oh, boom, boom.